master's in urban planning. Yeah, and it's great to be here. Thank you.
Recording in progress. Ken Coughlin, I've been on the committee for 15 years.
Wow.
And I finally spoke.
I'm Alex Bell. I think I've almost been on the committee for 2 years.
Carey Alexander, I've been on the committee since I believe November.
Okay, hi. I'm gonna get out of.
Yeah,
There's an echo. Hi, I'm Elizabeth Caputo. I have been with CB7 for, I guess, almost 10. I think we started the same year, so 15 years, I guess. I have not been on the transportation committee the whole time. I was chair for 3 years, about 8 or 9 years ago, and I'm now in a co-chair role. My professional background, I've done a lot of stuff that's emerging of public and private in infrastructure finance, and more recently in emerging tech and transportation. So I love this committee. I love the issues we talk about. I think we always assemble great groups, and I'm really excited to join.
Elizabeth or Laura, if
Jessie,
your audio's on, you have to mute it. Thank you.
Yeah, one of these computers is causing an echo.
Okay, my computer's off.
No, I think it was good.
But anyway, I'm Andrew Albert. I'm probably the longest serving member on this committee ever. In excess of 40 years, believe it or not. Wow. Yeah, and very interested in transportation, as I have been all my life. MTA board member, chair of the Transit Riders Council, member of the PCAC. Now a new issue. I'm now a member of the SWAG group, which stands for Station Working Advisory Group, which is looking into how Penn Station can be redone so that it is much better. Not the new Moynihan Station, but the old Penn Station, how it can be improved, how signage, how wayfinding can be improved, how we can do all of this without demolishing a block of 31st Street, as some of the railroads would like to do. So we have been meeting at least 4 times already, and we will be meeting through the end of the year. And then we'll see what kind of resolution we get. So go ahead, Jay.
He's got eyes and ears.
Yes, I'm Jay. I don't know how many years I've been.
Same as me.
Same as you? We joined at the same time? So 111 years. At least it feels that.
It's dog years.
That's it. I've been on the board 15 years.
Isn't the board only 2 years?
What?
Isn't a board membership only 2 years?
A term is 2 years.
And how many terms does one have?
Till you die.
That's not how it works.
No.
Yeah, we have
Now you
term
have
limits now.
8 years. 4
Well,
terms.
you've been here for 10 years.
What?
But
It's a
you've
long
been for 4
story.
years.
Yeah.
We can take this offline if you have questions about.
Well, I think it's important to know these.
Sure,
things.
so that's.
And if you say that the
it's 8
polls are
years,
looking for people
Okay.
to get on the board,
Exactly, so
and the same
could you
people
let me
are
have
always here speaking the same
Yeah,
thoughts.
if you could just let me finish.
Sure.
So it is eight years. Many people on this board were, as we call it, grandfathered in. Okay, no, we have terms that will be expiring within the next 3 to 5 years.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that answers your question, and we're gonna continue with our meeting.
Oh, absolutely.
Thanks.
Oh, hi. I don't know how you've been.
That's a city in California, you know.
Oh, hi, that's right. How could you be on the board for 40 years when you're only 39 years old?
It's
I don't
impossible, isn't it? The math doesn't work.
Prenatally on this. I'm Doug Kleiman. I've been on the board. My memory is a little, I'm not sure. I think it's been 2018 or 19. I have been on the transportation committee for my entire tenure on this board. I also happen to be the vice chair of the board, and looking to do some good work here.
I'm Howard Yaruss. I've been on the board, I guess, about a decade. I also served for 6 years as the co-chair of the Transportation Committee. And I teach at NYU about cities and urban economics.
And we have one more member arriving momentarily as she comes up, and we'll have her introduce when she arrives. And I think that's actually the entire committee is here.
Excellent.
All right.
For Thanksgiving week, that's pretty.
Yeah,
Pretty good.
Folks online.
So we don't have the agendas out for saving paper tonight. We have 2 items to discuss, and we're gonna try to get Jessie, hopefully, or me to get them on the screen. But the 2 items are, one, a discussion about what I think you all have received, correct? Has everyone received the presentation about sort of the 70th to 72nd Street stretch of Broadway? That'll be the first part of the meeting, and then the second part will be Andrew giving us a lot of what we're interested in, which is
Yeah.
hearing what's going on with the MTA. And Jamie's here just in time, and then we're gonna discuss sort of the emails that have been going back and forth at the end of the meeting, during new business about the meetings to come. And just so everyone knows and is clear, the December meeting will be, a thorough discussion of the resolutions that, Alex has put forward. And then in January, Ken and his materials will get, top billing for the January meeting. So we'll have other things on the agenda, but those, just wanted to make sure everyone knew that those were carved in.
And just as a reminder, we will have a joint transportation and parks meeting in December to talk about the safety recommendations that have been put forth for Central Parks roadways. So
When
that
will
will be at Parks Committee,
Yeah.
but it will be joint.
Third Monday?
Third Monday of the month at 6:30.
And we're the second Tuesday, we're December 10th for transportation. Full board being December 3rd.
So it's the 16th.
Jamie, we've all introduced ourselves.
Hello,
Can you do that as well?
my greatest apologies. I'm Jami Floyd. How are you, everyone? Hello, oh, I'm so sorry. I'll move over toward Andrew, always a delight anyway.
Thank you so much.
Won't have my back to you.
The owl knows where you are at all times.
I know it doesn't.
Oh, and Jamie, do you want to tell us anything about yourself and your background and your interest in the transportation?
I'm a born and raised New Yorker. I, have lived in this neighborhood for 30 years. I, love the subway and I should have taken it because then I would not have been 5 minutes late. Why did I make the foolhardy decision of seeing that yellow cab and just jumping into it? One always feels it's so fortunate.
Because they've been so decimated by the four.
Yes, I
car
felt,
services, that's why.
the need
Yeah.
to make my contribution, but here I am, and that's, I love all forms of transportation. That's why I'm on this committee.
Thank you, thank you. We need to get an approval of our agenda. Can we have a show of hands, please?
Second.
I think that's all 10. Wonderful. Thank you all. And we're now pleased to introduce Laura Sachs. Laura, tell us a little bit about.
I'm Laura Sachs. I'm an architect. I also have a degree from Columbia in urban design. I work for the city. I work for the School Construction Authority, and I'm a resident at West 72nd Street, and I am a transportation super geek. I love thinking about all the different ways we get around the city and how it's like the circulation system of everything is dependent on transportation. So I'm grateful for this opportunity to talk about this neighborhood that I live in and that I'm hoping we can get some attention.
Great. Are you all set up with your?
I am. Can I share my screen?
Yeah, great.
See the. It's a little small.
Click in the bottom. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I just want to, for those who might not be familiar, the proposal that I'm hoping for a discussion to start tonight is a participatory budget proposal that won support from the community, but because it's not a capital improvement project and requires traffic study and design and a lot of input from stakeholders, that money that was allocated was reallocated for Verdi Park. So, but the proposal that I came up with is really looking at the redesign of the intersection of Amsterdam and Broadway, which is one of the many, sorry, I just want to get rid of the.
Can you scroll down?
Scroll the map up, maybe? or-
You know what? There we go. So you can see this area is the area we're discussing, which is south of 72nd Street. between 69th and 72nd, where Broadway goes north, Amsterdam goes north, and the intersection of Broadway and Amsterdam, has a lot of opportunity for redesign. So these are some of the things I think we can all agree that the space needs to accommodate. We have pedestrians, bikes, outdoor space, dining, deliveries, food trucks, businesses with outdoor seating, vendors, newsstands, parking, emergency vehicles, sanitation, trash bins, bus and subway activity, greenery, lighting and security and law enforcement. There's a lot of factors that we need to take into account. So that is a challenge that we are undertaking. So what I want to explain is this is the northbound, you can see my cursor here. On the left is the existing conditions. We have northbound traffic on Amsterdam and northbound traffic on Broadway that merges in this highlighted area that you can see between 71st and 72nd. So all the traffic is merging there anyway. The proposal that I have is to redirect the traffic on 69th down by these red arrows, where the traffic would merge just 2 blocks south of where it already merges, and allocate these 2.5 blocks for potential limited access to vehicles and a pedestrian plaza. So that would increase pedestrian safety, as you'll see in the next slide. Some of the crosswalks are onerously long, dangerous, and the opportunity for taking over some of the space for other uses besides traffic, which again is merging anyway at the 69th Street. So that's the big idea. So I just want to show some of the images of why this is something that we really need to be talking about. These are some of the crosswalks which you can see are really long. And we all know Broadway, or in general, we know traffic calming and pedestrian extensions and many ways to improve our streets. We just haven't given this the attention. I also want to mention that the north side of the subway building, there's a bit of a pinch point here. This is 72nd Street and the subway, you can see here in plan. A lot of people end up walking in the street because this area is so congested and crowded. So we really have an opportunity here to improve pedestrian safety. Again, you can see some of these images. This is all between 71st and 69th Street, just long areas of dangerous crosswalks. I also want to show you, I did, sorry. If you see here, these orange dots I uploaded from Crash Mapper. These are places since 2020 where collisions have occurred. So quite a few here at 71st Street on both sides. And this is 72nd. At this intersection at 71st, at 70th, quite a bit of incidents that possibly could be diminished with some safety measures. So just for those who aren't familiar with this area, the pedestrian usage, and this, we are the gateway to the Upper West Side between the marathon and the Thanksgiving parade and all the tourists coming to see the Dakota and Riverside Park. There is no shortage of people, not just locals, but visitors to our neighborhood. And it is a high traffic area. We have pedestrians and bicycles sharing the road. We have, obviously the e-bikes and deliverista system is something that citywide needs to be addressed. Bicycle parking is a huge issue, crowding our sidewalks. We have thankfully vibrant retail activity in this area with tables and chairs outside. And we have a situation at Sherman Square with deliveries, trucks stationed pretty much 24/7 and distributing their packages throughout the neighborhood. We have issues with trash collection. We have Broadway Malls Association doing a great job providing greenery. There's a lot going on. And as you are all well aware, there's a lot of attention being brought to the plaza between 70th and 71st Street, also an area that has really been neglected and needs some significant improvements. So this plaza is highlighted in red. And you can see here, there's a lot of bicycles. I'm there at 6 o'clock every morning. These bicycles are parked overnight. So we obviously need places to designate bicycles that aren't going to crowd our sidewalks. And you can see here, there's outdoor seating. You know, it's a wide plaza, so there's, you know, pedestrian space, but it's being, this space is asked to do a lot. So this proposal on the other side might relieve some of the congestion in this plaza and provide other places for people to congregate, and places like this. I just took this picture yesterday. We have seasonal vendors. So we have food trucks, we have a fruit vendor, we have a newsstand, and we have seasonal vendors, we have outdoor seating, we have bikes parked, we have a lot going on. So, yeah, I mean, that's, and then the other area that is all part of this neighborhood is Sherman Square, which is one of the saddest little triangles I've ever seen. So
Has been for years.
maybe we want to give that some love, possibly taking away the fence enclosure and enclosing it maybe with some benches. So you can see here on the map where that Sherman Square is. But we also have trucks parked outside all the time, and they are delivering and distributing with the e-bikes and other, some of the parts they use. But that is an area, in this photo here, you can see there's 2 trucks parked. We also have a food truck parked there. They bring their own seating. So there's a lot going on here. It's night and day activity. So what I want to show you next is some of the images of traffic calming by curb extensions or street seats, as I think it's often called. This is the area by the subway where there's 2 travel lanes in each direction on West 72nd Street. This is not a travel lane. So we have an opportunity to consider maybe expanding the area where this fence is that creates that pinch point, pulling it out and giving this area to relieve some of the congestion in that area. So if you see here, this is the triangle between 71st and 72nd. That would be pedestrian, also shortening the distances of the crosswalk, because giving a shorter distance gives people elderly and those with disabilities more of an opportunity to safely cross. So this is between 70th and 71st. To be honest, there is not a lot of traffic northbound on Broadway, because Broadway is, if you're traveling from Midtown going uptown, you're taking Amsterdam. You are not coming from Midtown. It doesn't even go through, because at Columbus Circle, it's diverted. Lincoln Center, it's diverted. So this isn't a lot of volume coming uptown. So we do have an opportunity to take these streets back and reallocate it for other uses to be determined by, the DOT. So here you can see, the opportunity to reimagine these streets. So this is, the other issue I do want to mention is there is a bus stop right at 69th, that we need. The next page to show where that would be. But I do want to mention, so this is the existing bus stop in front of the Shakespeare bookstore, and which is just to our right. There's an opportunity for a bus stop. There's not a lot of retail activity here. The bus stop could go in that little triangle on the north side of 69th between Amsterdam and Broadway. I also want to go back and mention that the retail activity between 69th and 71st has 9 food service businesses on this east side of Broadway. I listed here: Metro Cafe, Pizza Collective. So there is an economic benefit as well as pedestrian safety by creating this space for something other than through traffic and parking. By the way, I did count, there's 19 parking spaces along this that would be lost. It's 2-hour parking from, I believe, 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. it's, you know, that would be one of the things that we would be taking away to gain so much. And that concludes my presentation. I don't know if anybody has questions, but I'm really.
Presentation.
Thank you.
I'm sure we all have opinions and questions, but I would, as an MTA representative as well as a community board member, the M5, the M7, the M11, the M104 all use these two avenues. And to put them all onto a short little block of 69th Street, I just have no idea if they can all make the turn, where they would be waiting, how much they would be delayed. You know, buses may have to be exempted from
That's a
some of
great
the.
point. And we're limited access because you don't necessarily, you know, we still have deliveries that might have to happen on
Exactly.
limited hours. You have emergency vehicles and you have sanitation pickup. So there's a lot of factors. So I'm not, this area in pink, I'm not saying I have a vision of what we do with it,
Sure.
but it's certainly a great conversation to
It could
start
be like
having.
14th Street, which is limited
Yeah,
access.
limited access,
So I think,
Could be.
Laura.
which is what I put here in the title, limited vehicle access.
And I think Laura, for tonight, she wanted to come here to have a discussion with all of us. So it's gonna be like her taking notes about what we think about this, and then us taking notes about it, and hopefully we can come, you know, after 20-30 minutes of discussion tonight, we can come forward and provide her with some next steps. And also for the community, if you have thoughts on this, please weigh in. So I think we start with the board.
Board.
Okay, we'll start with the board.
Go one way or the other.
Whoever would like to speak, speak.
We can start, yeah.
We have two people here.
So that I myself have many times waited at that very bus stop, having been with Shakespeare and Company. So it is the 5, the 7, and the 104. And when I wait there, I do notice it's a very much used stop by all different sectors of our community, including many
And
people
it's
who are
good for those
disabled.
businesses too.
That's right, it's good for businesses, but also people who are disabled, elderly people. So I would be very concerned about even moving it around. You know, people come out, they look right on the avenue, they want to travel for the stop.
Understood.
So that is my concern as a bus lover.
Thanks, Jay.
Can you get that proposed plaza up?
The map, Kim?
77 first. It was a yellow,
Like a triangle.
well, it wasn't exactly.
You mean Sherman, Jay?
Sherman Square?
No,
On Amsterdam.
you referred to it as a plaza.
Oh, the-
70.
The setback where McDonald's and Starbucks exist, right?
Sherman Square, Jay, is that what you're talking about?
No, it's on Amsterdam, where McDonald's is and Little Italy and Starbucks. Right.
Yeah,
The super
I
block.
seem to have
Yeah,
lost
it's a
the
big
sharing.
topic of discussion.
But
That's right.
I know you went through it quickly, but
No,
by the way, we appreciate it.
I'm not able to share my screen again. I know.
But did I see that correctly then?
You're able to share your screen. I'll come out.
Jessie's coming out to help you.
And then just minute and I'll share. So we can- minimize.
Because.
So this is the area you were talking about with a little Italy pizza and McDonald's and Starbucks and all the other things that are going on.
West side of Amsterdam.
It has a particularly wide sidewalk. It's unusually wide.
Yeah, and I should add that we have had several meetings with Gail and with our elected officials and with the Block Association about public safety as it relates to that area.
Yeah.
And the municipalities.
Yes, and so my take, and I know Jay, you have other things to add, but one of the things I wanted to talk about tonight was sort of making sure that both efforts are sort of working,
Oh,
not
absolutely.
working at cross purposes and how this whole area gets redesigned. I
We
think
need
it'd
a
be great to have one united front rather than all these groups coming with various, things. So that would be like one of my suggestions would
Of
be to
course.
make sure that you guys are all aligned with those
Mhm.
things. Yeah. I'm sorry, Jay, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Still waiting to see if you could find that one.
It's here. This is it.
No,
Oh,
that's
this-
not what I'm referring to.
It's the one with the,
It's the map.
It's the
The
one
map.
with
The map.
I think I
yellow
know-
area. You
The map with
referred
the-
to it as a proposed plaza between, I think, 70th and 71st. It was
I
after
think-
this.
I think I know
Oh, that's on
Actually,
the east
it's like
side
the
of Broadway.
On
pedestrian
the-
plaza where
East side
the
of
subway station is. I believe that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jay, but I think that's the pedestrian plaza you're talking about.
it's the Shakespeare
Where
and
the
Company.
subway station is.
No, I think
I'm not sure.
it's south of there. It's-
You're proposing a
I think it's slide
pedestrian
9 or
plaza on
10.
the west side of Broadway.
On the east
There.
side.
I'm sorry, I meant east, excuse me.
There.
East side of
Well, it
Broadway.
was right after.
There it is.
There
Jay.
it is, Jay.
No, that's.
And then there was one
slope.
with a bit of a triangle that came out,
This-
Laura. I would go down another one.
No, it's not that.
You just scroll down a few more slides.
Your time.
That, well, let me go back to the,
No, it was after this.
Yeah,
after that is just,
with the yellow,
Yeah,
how's this one?
no,
no,
on the.
You would show-
it was a big block of yellow.
Oh, it was photo, there's some photo images where I overlaid.
No,
Yeah, I know you. That's it. There it goes. Yeah.
Okay,
it's at the end.
And you just, there's only proposed plaza.
Got it,
between
got it.
50.
Yeah,
So
but- Up on the screen.
So
Okay.
closing the road.
it's just an area that has an opportunity to be redesigned. I don't necessarily say close the entire road, but close it through traffic, close it to
You
parking.
refer to it as a plaza.
Well, it's a plaza that could have multiple uses. I know there are parts of Broadway, particularly around Times Square, that still have some limited traffic also down by the Flatiron Building, just north of there. There's tables and chairs, there's lots of street use as well as plaza. So the area that I have highlighted is just an opportunity to design something that is better than what's there, that serves other purposes besides moving cars there and buses.
Okay. We do have to move cars and buses.
We certainly can accommodate some of the traffic on Amsterdam, which again is not that, all the traffic is merging already right here. So we're not looking at relocating a lot of the traffic. It's a minor diversion for some of the through traffic. I wouldn't say for the private vehicles, it's much of a time constraint or an inconvenience.
Have you noticed that when you're on Amsterdam Avenue and you go from south of 72nd to north, that the lanes are misaligned?
They're missing. Yeah, and you can't continue up Broadway. You have to make that left on
do,
Second and Third.
right.
So there's a lot of obstructions that already exist on Broadway. That-
Which would seem to me would mitigate against creating more.
No, I think most people are gonna wanna be on Amsterdam and travel on Amsterdam.
Unless
So
it's
Broadway
straight
is not the
buses on
place to go
Broadway.
for
You're in,
speed and efficiency.
Howard,
Not to mention the traffic that's going to increase once my friend's conjecture pricing goes into.
Okay,
Increase.
let's save that for
That's
later.
news.
Jay, or Howard.
Oh, I give you so much credit for coming up with this. Is it perfect? I'm sure Jay would not say it's perfect, and I won't say it's perfect, but is it a step in the right direction to at least think about how we improve our streets? Definitely. So I give you a lot of credit for that. I just find it extremely sad that the DOT never does this. For all the high taxes we pay, they don't show, they show so little creativity. 4 years and 2 months ago, this board asked them to give thought to West 72nd Street, which hasn't been changed since the 1950s, to my knowledge. We still have not only have not gotten a plan from them, we have not even gotten an acknowledgement that they're even thinking about it. So that's 4 years and 2 months ago from the DOT to whom we pay our taxes. So I give you so much credit for coming up with this. I think we should work on it. I think there's so much potential on the street. And thanks again.
Doug,
I think Ken had his hand up before.
okay, and Ken.
Okay, yeah, I want to echo, I'm gonna keep my mask on, I hope you can hear me. I want to echo what Howard said, I really commend you for this holistic view, and very bold view, and it's something that, we need in this neighborhood more. It's not true that DOT, doesn't do things like this below, I think, 34th Street, they have, and on Broadway. And they have a lot of shared streets and it's interrupted by completely car-free street blocks. So, you know, we need more of this.
And Ken, if I could just say also that Colleen from DOT has been briefed on this. And she, unfortunately, there's a major CB5 meeting tonight, so she couldn't be here at this meeting,
it's not
but
our
it's
normal
not,
night.
it's not because she didn't want to be here.
Good.
Okay, just.
Okay. And also just speaking as a pedestrian and a cyclist, that's one of the most dangerous places I go in our district, crossing those streets. And if you cross wrong down around 71st Street, you can wait a long time and you really don't know where to go, let's say, going east to west or west to east. I would wondering if you had any other ideas for the use of what you're calling the plaza, which I think is a great name, other than, you know, overflow bike parking, which is one thing you mentioned. But I, you know, encourage us, not just you, to come up with other uses for that space. And also I wanted to ask, I mean, there is the concern about how much it's going to delay traffic. At least car traffic, bikes are traffic and pedestrians are traffic. But have you looked at cars and drivers making a left on 69th and what the trade-offs are between that and merging down at 71st Street?
Yeah, it's a great point. That's the distance between Broadway and Amsterdam on 69 is not a very long distance for cars to queue. So there would have to be, you know, some control at that point to consider the diversion of traffic. It could also be a diversion that happens 2 blocks south at 67th Street, which is a longer block and achieves the same goal. So there's ways to address that legitimate concern.
Doug,
So thank you for putting this together. It's always interesting to hear new ideas. And obviously, this is something that really needs to be studied, not just by the community board, but by all the municipalities, particularly DOT and MTA. Highly sophisticated, highly comprehensive. And even us as maybe non-experts, or some of those sort of half experts, there are immediate concerns, right? And Andrew already mentioned it. So on that 69th Street bus stop, besides those 3 buses, you know, I think we know that the M104 turns at 73rd to get onto Broadway. The M57 makes the turnaround to go back to 72nd and then a right. So there's just a lot to think about here. And again, to mirror or echo what Elizabeth just said, the plaza that we're talking about, the pedestrian plaza where Little Italy is at McDonald's, has been a major topic of discussions. We've had multiple meetings with many of our board members and the police department and the DOT and the Department of Sanitation, lots of other stakeholders. So then also there's a proposal for West 72nd Street, which was sent out, that I don't know if you've studied. So the convergence of all of these things have to be on the same page. You mentioned, well, and by the way, I do want to say something, that the Upper West Side happens to be the subject of the Smart Curbs pilot, one of the first in the whole city. So it's not that DOT does nothing on the Upper West Side. In fact, we are the first to get the Smart Curbs pilot. You mentioned something about participatory budgeting. Are you proposing this as a proposal for the city council?
This was proposed in 2024 and was one of the winners.
Got it.
Because participatory budget winners need to have a capital improvement project. It can't be a traffic study.
Right.
It has to be something tangible. So that it was rescinded and reallocated to one of the other
proposal. So,
Thank
but
you
this was submitted as a participatory budget,
Who's
was-
council member?
the council members, yeah.
Hey guys, it's Max. I just want to confirm as well. I had talked to Gail about this and she was extremely supportive, and both her and Shula were upset that it couldn't come through because of the specifications for the funding. Just wanted to add the validity there to that.
Thanks, Max.
Let's go out.
One quick piece of good news there, the Sherman Square, we learned about it in the Parks Department, that's being taken over by Broadway Mall. And they have some money set aside for planting, et cetera, but it's not gonna be a huge change, but yeah, it's a good.
Yeah.
Huge change. Oh, yeah, that was
I
you.
can speak to that.
Can you come up so that people at home can give us your name, please?
I sit in that chair.
Yeah.
Sharon, for you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the area, yeah, more Ian. Director of Horticulture, Broadway Mall Association.
Right.
Sherman Square needs a lot of work. It's an absolute mess. And so we want to take, there's 4 tree pits on it we really want to take care of, but with the way it is now, you put guards around those beds and they will be damaged within a few months.
Why did they put on Amsterdam and stuff?
You can-
See that? That was a beautiful garden.
But, yeah, so what we want to do is sort of form a connectivity between Sherman Square and 71st Street as a viable pedestrian corridor, with possible seating and things. There is a good amount of commerce and restaurants around there, so, yeah. And then I think, I don't know if it was in the falls, but DOT planters could definitely fit in there for, traffic stopping that we would take care of.
So you're in discussions with DOT about Sherman Square?
Parks actually
Parks,
takes care of it. It might be
okay.
the smallest park. But it's a
No,
park,
that one's
not a
on,
plaza.
that one is on 71st Street. It's just down the block a little bit. It's up to Justin Ramon. Uno is the smallest New York City park, I believe.
Is that right?
Yeah, the smallest in the entire city. It's like one little,
It's small.
it's, yeah, I believe that's the designation as the smallest.
Park?
Yeah,
Yeah.
smallest city.
This is, so this is what's left of Needle Park from the film.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Um,
that's right.
So the first things we're gonna do, we're gonna paint the fence and do little stuff and then see, where it goes. But it would tie in really great with all this.
Thank you.
Are there any other committee members?
One more.
Oh, I had the same questions about DOT and MTA. So is the next step to do those traffic and pedestrian studies, or how would that get funded?
Well, that's why we're here.
Yeah.
To discuss what are the next steps, certainly traffic studies and looking holistically at the plaza between 70th and 71st and the Broadway malls and Sherman Square and the east side along Broadway and all the businesses that we have in the area. We've got, and the 72nd Street Park to Park vision. There's a lot to think about, and we really do need to look holistically. I'm just bringing this forth as an idea, food for thought to really consider the potential of this area to really be worthy of the gateway to the Upper West Side.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
I think this is
Thank
great.
you.
This is what worked before, so.
You may want to put on your map there, next to Verdi Square on the west side of Amsterdam, the bus layover for the M57 is there.
Yeah.
So,
This is the,
I forgot to say something, if I may just add, it's very minor, just that, and I'm sure the MTA knows what they're doing, but because there are multiple buses, they often arrive at the same time, right? So the MTA knows exactly how they have to set up a bus stop and how long a bus stop has to be especially when there are multiple lines that are stopping there. So the turnoff to 69th, I imagine is going to be a lot of challenges because I don't think you put more than one bus there. And you mentioned the turnoff on 67th, there's an M66 crosstown going from east to west there.
I have the bus map up.
Yeah.
So, Well, definitely, these are all, I think, hopefully some good initial feedback. I just had a couple of quick questions for you. I think it's great. This is really wonderful, interesting. I share the sort of concerns about the buses. I happen to live right there, like just a block closer to Columbus and CPW, but I use that bus all the time. And it is very well traveled by people. It's also the first place that anyone sort of Columbus and points east on the west side can get to Uptown bus service. So for them, that is like the difference between walking across that avenue over to Amsterdam, I think will be an issue to some people, especially elderly and other folks having it be on the near side.
Ability issues.
Yeah, so but I think the most important thing with anything related to the buses is we need to get the MTA, like their comments and feedback and try to get them at DOT, right? So, but the MTA. My second thing sort of bridges the conversations we were having last week about the McDonald's stuff and this, which is a lot of the activity is happening after the school hours. And so students, it's, you know, a lot of students congregating there between, you know, 2 and 4, whatever. In addition, I think the Catholic school gets out around this time too, so a lot of people
Elizabeth? We're unable to hear you.
area as well. Just as bad, just on the other side, like, so that's why I think having the joint conversations would be
Elizabeth? We have some hands up.
helpful. That's really all I just wanted to add about the congestion, even people making right turns off Columbus to go, you know, if they're going back uptown or whatever, going all the way to Amsterdam to do it, but it's definitely worth exploring, and we can maybe, I'd love to hear, is there anyone from?
We have some hand raised up.
We haven't heard all of you yet.
Elizabeth, we have some hand raised our chairs.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just.
I think she might be frozen.
It might be.
I think the whole.
Frozen.
Everyone's frozen.
It's not that cold out.
No, it isn't.
Why don't we go to?
But
I
in the
think, okay,
meantime,
yeah, Rita.
Rita, go ahead.
Hi, so this is 2.5 years since I've been on the Block Association for 72nd Street. We did a online survey to our mailers, which is now about 400 or 500 people, which certainly doesn't represent everybody in this area. But it gave us a pretty good sense of a lot of the things going on with people and how they feel about navigating this whole area. And one thing for sure, nobody's happy, right? So what I want to say is, whatever manifestation happens here, I want to give Laura a tremendous shout out for bringing this to the attention of the community. We've spoken to council member about this. All the electeds are aware of this. We've now created, I think, thanks to Laura, like the sense of like, okay, let's like start focusing, not on like all the things like that won't work, but like what will, right? And taking like 1 or 2 little baby steps, like, and making those 1 or 2 baby steps really work. I'm not a transportation person, but I know I've heard from all different types of people in this neighborhood. We want the streets to work for everyone. We want them to work for people crossing. We want to working for people that are in wheelchairs, walkers, strollers, people on bicycles, and really, and it sounds like a lot to do, right? But if we take maybe small steps, we can really try to make, one of the things that we already brought to DOT's attention on 72nd Street is a lot of these major streets like 72nd, 34th, 42nd, when they're large, like a length between one avenue and the next. So for instance, 72nd between Columbus and Amsterdam, it's a huge block.
And to put a mid-block crossing there, like, it doesn't take much, right? You see people darting across the street, in the middle of the street, cars are going both ways, bicycles are going, people are trying to cross. It just doesn't work. And I think those, I mean, the reason I bring it up is, but that's like to me, that's a baby step, right? Like putting in a mid-block crossing. But like, I don't know enough about how to redesign this, but I know if you listen to people, you will hear one commonality, which is we need to make change. This does not work. I think Howard or someone here mentioned how old this is. This infrastructure is so old. You could put carriages on it. I mean,
Yeah, it's a little bit after that, but not much.
I mean, so, and I think people are listening now. I think it's important. So thank you, Laura, for bringing this out to Community Board 7. I'm 100% not necessarily like, let's make all these changes, but like, let's listen to everybody and let's try to figure out, we're not working against anybody, we're not working with anybody. We want everyone to come together here and say, this does not work for anybody. How do we make it work?
Okay,
Just to
Art,
take
Art,
up
can you just,
something she just
yeah,
said.
sure, go ahead.
So I think she's 100% correct in terms of taking little pieces. No
Can you introduce
business without do the whole thing at one time. They want to know what works. My thought is, I think that the most important thing that we have to think about now is how come an ambulance can't get across the street at all, ever, okay? And if we first figure out, how do we do that? Because that's part of your plan as to what you think is important. If you can do that, then we have something to go to the board with and say, look, we did it this way, this is what we think should be the step number 2, and we'll do it that way. But I think going for doing this thing all at once is just a failure.
Okay, I understand we have Beverly back now, if she can hear us.
I think we waited a little too long for Beverly, unfortunately. However, we do have some other hands up online.
Rachel?
Oh, excuse me. Hi, CB7. Thank you so much for the presentation, Laura, and thank you for taking public comment. I just wanted to express how excited I am that we would consider this proposal to move forward with a redesign of Broadway and Amsterdam and 72nd Street area. I live on the Upper West Side with my partner. My partner also works in Nomad, where Broadway has recently implemented a pedestrian plaza redesign, really with a lot of the elements that we're looking at here. I've had the pleasure of visiting him there to dine and see his office and move around, and I can't express how much more people friendly and people first the area is now, how much more foot traffic there is for businesses, and how generally more vibrant the area has become. I've heard the BID director speak on the topic, and he's so enthusiastic about the business owners in the district, how much they have benefited from this. And I think that we can bring these proven concepts on Broadway to the Upper West Side to our benefit. So thank you so much.
It's Dara Frank. Dara? I think that's you, right? Dara Frank, can you hear us?
We have Katina. Katina Addison.
Hi, hello. This is Katina Ellison of the West 71st Street Block Association. I'm probably going to bring up some other stuff later. I'm Katina Ellison from the West 71st Street Block Association. Can you hear me? Great, great. So Max, I've got some things I might bring up later, but I'd like to comment now. As a lot of you know, thanks for having me here. As a lot of you know, we're working very, very closely right now with some of you. Beverly, Doug, Elizabeth, I didn't have a chance to introduce myself to you when you came to our meeting on Monday, but thank you for that. I guess I'm a little bit stunned, I'm going to be honest, because this proposal...
And we're going to have to hold just...
Sometimes
Wait, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Can you? Okay.
Turn off your
We're having some audio difficulties here in our office. So
Tell her to turn off the camera. That often works.
we can try to have you turn off the camera. I know Jessie's working on it in the other room. But maybe for now, if you
Okay.
don't mind turning your camera on and speaking.
Can you hear
Thank
me
so
now?
much. Thank
Hear
Yeah.
me now? Well,
Yes.
maybe I'll just, so a lot of you, I think, know that it's been in the press, et cetera. As soon as the shooting happened at McDonald's, we launched into action, and thanks to Gail, a whole bunch of parties came together. We proposed a 10-point solution proposals that have really been embraced and are underway. So here's what concerns me. I'm very concerned, as I think Elizabeth alluded to, that suddenly there's a wrench thrown into the works. It is imperative that we stick, and I would appeal to you that we stick with the ideas that are being agreed on. For example, we're quite eager, and Colleen, I think, likes this idea from DOT. We've got to get a bike corral into the street there, as well as other things. Let's not forget about many potential negative consequences of such a plan. Look, I love the pedestrian plazas when I've seen them in certain parts of town, but I'm very concerned about what's already been brought up here. I'm concerned about people with mobility issues. We can't get rid of our buses. And I guess there are definitely potential negative impacts on businesses, on pedestrians, on people with disabilities, et cetera. So I'm just quite concerned that we not suddenly have some wrench in the works that's going to get in the way of ideas that I think we've all embraced. This is 71st Street. I represent hundreds of people on West 71st Street. So I've thanked members of CB7 for your support and coming to the meetings. And I think I would urge us to keep on that path. And if we're going to institute stuff, Laura and I have agreed on things like curb extensions. Some things can be done right away. We could do curb extensions, and we do need to look at our traffic signals, the lights. Again, we've worked with Linda Rosenthal to adjust those lights, but those lights now need adjusting again. So I'm just very concerned that we stay on a course that we now have a wonderful coalition of people working on, and that I just don't want this to deter the wonderful progress and coalition that we have put together. Because it is 71st Street, it's really not going to affect 72nd as much as it's going to affect 71st. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your concerns, and I really feel we are all part of the same community, and we all agree what we have right now is not working. And many of the measures, your 10-point plan, many of them are really solid. We need to deal with sanitation, bikes, and safety. So we can all look at this holistically together and work towards a better neighborhood for everyone.
So I was just gonna say, moving forward, we'll want to get DOT, MTA Bus Division, Parks Department on the Sherman Square proposal, all of these folks to various meetings so we can get their understanding of how we proceed with some of these things. Does that make sense to everybody? We got to get the relevant agencies here.
That's the question, Andrew. I would like to try to expedite this because this could take months or years.
Of course.
And, we're talking about, there were some shootings at that plaza,
Yeah.
but we've had 4 serious traffic crashes in the last 4 years, also there. And
Are all of those crashes
there's
the same
cyclists,
direction
pedestrians,
and the same location, or?
right in that very area that's being talked about here.
Okay.
Can I make a suggestion for
Okay.
us as a?
But I think we need to figure out a way to move this along.
I think
Because
this will
lives are at
this will
stake.
help you. I think this will help
Okay.
you, Ken. I'm thinking out loud here, guys, but I'm wondering if maybe it makes sense for us to have this as a standing item at our monthly meetings for the next few months where we can.
Get various city agencies.
Yeah,
or-
so it's like
and-
ingrained that like the second Tuesday of the month, this will be discussed for 15 or 20 minutes, 15 minutes, just bringing in. The other thing I was gonna, hold on, the other thing is 15, no, have it focus on one piece of, something like that. I'm open to suggestions. I'm throwing it out
I
there.
had a different idea.
Okay, I'm just gonna finish my second idea first,
Yep.
if I could. The second was just, in addition to having go ahead, because I forgot my second idea.
Sorry. I was gonna suggest actually passing a resolution, not in support of this necessarily, but just saying, we're asking the DOT and the MTA to take a look at this proposal and get back to us on it as ASAP.
I would second that. Again, I'm harking back to the 72nd Street one, and we've been waiting 4 years, 2 months on, so I don't know how we're going to make this one go quicker.
That's what I don't know what the
Yeah.
resolution, I mean, if you think a resolution will do
Resolution
that.
would have to start with whereas, and then we'd have to list lots of the things that Laura has brought up.
Yeah,
It's gonna be a very long res up, just so
We
you.
don't have to list it, we just have to, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Rita said, people are very unhappy with the current configuration. Could you look at it and see if it can be improved? Again, we pay very high taxes for a purpose. There are experts who work for each of these agencies who theoretically should be able to come up with something better than was put in the 1950s.
Well, why don't we combine both ideas and think about a resolution to your effect here? But also try to keep this moving as part of the board through the committee. No, just as an
No, I'm
item.
laughing at Rita, sorry.
I'm not speaking for Andrew, if I can just finish what, because the other thing, I'm just thinking back to items like this, that came up in the community. One was when City Bike was first being thought about in the neighborhood, we held public meetings, Community Board 7 held them, remember, and we had the community come and put in like sort of push pins where they wanted. I think DOT would probably want to know from the community sort of where the pain points are. And they're not gonna sit and listen to this recording tonight, right? So like if
Not
we,
likely.
right, so if we gave them some anecdotal material and help you in that process, it could potentially give them a starting point. That's all it was.
I'd like to build on that and offer a walking audit with all the stakeholders, with the block associations, with this transit committee, with members of the community, and do a walking audit with DOT, with parks, with MTA, and talk about the area in person, walking around the neighborhood and really pinpointing what the areas that need attention, I think. So I would love to see that as a next step.
I think Rita, did you have,
Yeah, I was listening to Katina also, and I'm sorry she's not here to physically be here, but I think the spirit is that, the community as a whole, with the 71st Street Block Association is really trying to work together on this, This is not a contentious discussion. This is not a dispute.
Not at all.
This is, how do we make our area better? And I understand what Katina's saying is like, there's already a lot of traction now in this, so it almost seems like we're like going against each other, but we're not. We need to really figure out a way to pull all this together in a really solid way so that 71st Street Block Association, 73rd, because everyone's had there's been input coming from all different places.
So what do you all think is the best way forward, where we can be helpful?
Well, I mean, what I think with the block association, with DOT, any other, the elected officials, any other agencies that would be, working on this, MTA, and just get together and say, okay, I like the idea of a walking audit together. Like, so we're working together and talking about what the issues are from each of our vantage points, and then coming together maybe in some sort of, meetings where we can talk about concrete next steps of like what we want to do to make this better. Because we could be talking about this for 4 or 5 years, right? But again, going back to what I originally said, is like, let's pick a couple of low-hanging fruits now, herb extensions, whatever they are, that's going to make this start working.
Even adjusting certain traffic lights, they can each be
Exactly.
individually adjusted now, that's how.
Because I think people see a whole design, they're like, oh my God, what are they gonna
Right,
do
right.
to this neighborhood? And then you start getting people say, no, I don't want this, for this reason, for that reason. But if it's like a couple of really things that low hanging fruit that everybody's gonna say yes to, let's do that. Let's start making some improvements.
I think we're all in agreement
Yeah.
that we want to move forward on this, and we'll get the obvious agencies to future meetings to start moving this along.
That's too vague.
Well, I think.
I think we need something specific. One thing specific would be a resolution. Another specific thing would be this walking audit, which we could help organize. And
Well, that's why I wanted to have this as an item, standing item for discussion, so we get it on the calendar,
but if we don't have an endpoint, like a deadline, then it's just gonna,
okay, but.
Deadline isn't up to us,
Yeah.
it's up to the various
No,
agencies.
it could be up to us.
So we tell DOT, if you don't do this by spring of
No,
twenty-five,
we
forget it.
just say, like, we're inviting you to a walking audit in, mid-January or mid-December.
You wanna do a walk in mid-January? With the snow and everything, yeah?
Well, people are gonna be walking there, Andrew.
Yeah, but I would like to do this when it's normal.
You wanna wait till the spring?
No, I don't wanna wait, get DOT to look
Okay,
at.
so how specifically are we gonna get that to happen?
I can certainly get
Sooner
MTA
rather than
to
later.
come, we certainly can get DOT and tell them what we're considering and
Colleen
have
can
them.
be here.
Yeah, Colleen is normally at our meetings, this is an out of the normal night for a meeting, that's why she's not here.
Mhm.
Doug,
Okay, so we just had a street tour audit. And present at this Amsterdam Avenue Plaza, we're calling it, and I know I'm repeating myself, but it's very important. Gail Brewer was there, Brad Hoyland-Siegel was there, Linda Rosenthal was there, Colleen from DOT was there, Department of Sanitation was there, the NYPD commanding officers and community affairs were there. The Broadway Malls Association was there, the Park Department was there, the owners and managers of McDonald's and their public relations company and the building management. So then we had another follow-up meeting. So there's going to be regular meetings. Now, I'm not saying that, I don't believe that these meetings need to compete or conflict with each other at all. This is just building on a concept and a footprint. And obviously, there's a proposal now for West 72nd Street that Streetopia sent out. It's very interesting. So all this can be complementary. But I am not personally ready to pass a resolution when I'm just digesting all this. I think it's very important that we all work together and expediently. I don't want to delay this. But I don't think that, I mean, I don't know what we're voting on when there's so many different good things. So I don't want to delay and wait on.
Your meeting had to do with safety in that plaza.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is we have another meeting like that
But this
with an
proposal
expanded
has to do
footprint.
with a different.
Well, it's
part of that
related.
area.
It's
Well,
all
it's
related.
because it's in
Related.
the
I
same area.
think
It's
CB7
literally
be
the same
umbrella
area.
for all of these different groups. Can CB7 serve as sort of the umbrella for all these different disparate groups?
Well, we need those experts there. If we could do the same thing that Gail, to Gail's credit, she's the one who called that
I
meeting.
understand that.
We can do another meeting like that and just expand the footprint and do it again. It's asking for a lot of people to show up,
I don't
but
think we're trying to recreate any work. Like, I think what we're trying, like, I want to listen to you all as the people who came up with the idea.
sure.
Like, what is going to be most effective? Like, what you need that the block association, these separate meetings are not giving you that we can provide. Is there anything that comes to mind?
I think the umbrella, I think, just the overarching and maybe, working with the electeds and working with some of the agencies and just being kind of like the, I don't know, not the catch-all, but like the place that, there's one place that you go and it's CB7 and they kind of organize and bring everyone together and know the entities that are involved.
have the block of 70 to 71 or 71 to 72, the east side of Broadway, have those businesses been told about some of these proposals? Do we know that?
I mean, not from West 72, but I know Katina's done some work. Yeah, and I think reaching to those businesses like Pizza Collective, and Metro Cafe and
Finding
Fondue Sushi.
how often they get deliveries, how the
Yeah.
size of their trucks.
Absolutely. I think that reaching out to the local businesses is probably a good next step as well.
Howard, forget the Lincoln's.
I think what Ken is going with this is how do we avoid going down the route of West 72nd Street? We spent a lot of time over 4 years ago discussing 72nd Street, talking about what would work on 72nd Street, calling for the DOT to meet with us regards. It went on and on and on. We adopted the resolution and it's 4 years later. How do we avoid that from happening here? I think that's what you're getting at.
Well, I just like to get with this to where we got to with 72nd Street with the DOT, which is
resulted
to
in
have them take a serious look at it.
Okay,
And,
I will take it one step further. How do we avoid that pitfall? How do we oh, you have the answer?
No, I was
don't.
gonna ask you what the answer to your question is.
Oh, I have no idea. That's why I'm asking. I mean, you could probably sense it in my voice. I'm enormously frustrated.
We don't wait 4 years. We keep moving on this with various city agencies and elected officials.
I also think that these are, first of all, they're busy elected officials and they're busy city agencies, right? So anything we can do to like take stuff off their plate, and especially with the city agencies, we sort of get one, but I feel, my personal opinion is, with an organization like DOT, we're gonna get one bite at the apple with them for this whole little area of 70th, 69th to 72nd, right? Each group could go at them with their own particular priorities, or we can sort of have one group that's trying to consolidate everything and let them come back to us with their thoughts on prioritization, and we plan accordingly. I feel like if we just go to them with like 3 times with 3 different asks for things for each of these 3 groups, we're not gonna get anything,
That's absolutely clear.
right? So maybe,
We learned that lesson.
yeah. So I mean, how do people feel about,
Keep doing.
Well, 72nd Street was like
How long,
unreal.
how long did it take to get the mid-block traffic line on 106?
Oh, boy.
How many years?
That was due to the hill and the
The
two
senior
senior
center,
facilities
that
across
was
the
the-
street.
How
from
many-
each
how
other.
many years?
we want to try to wrap this
It
up
took,
in another
under a
5 or
year.
10 minutes, so Jamie.
Guys, can I say something? It's Katina.
Sure.
It's Katina. Listen, this is the thing, guys, and Elizabeth, you were there, and Doug, you were there. We have wonderful plans in place right now that are much broader than safety, because our idea is that the chaos and filth on that pedestrian plaza outside McDonald's, that's contributing to attracting crime. But we have wonderful ideas in place, including Nicole of the Columbus Avenue bid, ready to work with us on planters. I mean, I guess I'm going to be honest. I'm very, very upset. We took the lead on this. Gail and everyone seems to like our ideas. Can we please just move forward with our ideas? We have Colleen on board. We have you guys from CB7 on board. We even have the bid on board. We have a lot of ideas in place, and I'd really like to move forward with it. And I'm just very, very worried that suddenly what was this wonderful coalition, please don't shift it. Please don't shift it, you guys.
I think what we're trying to do is be attentive to this specific need that has come to us about the east side of 69th to 72nd on Broadway, correct? And put it in the context of this bigger, much more concrete, much more advanced set of solutions that you are working on with Gail and with the elected officials. If we agree as a
Just a question, has this come before the committee? I'm not familiar with what she's talking about. Did I miss something?
It hasn't come
It's-
before as a
It's not.
form of resolution. The public meetings that we've been having.
Right,
That with all
I've
the.
seen
elect-
emails about that.
Yeah,
but-
that, but.
Is that
The
going
board
to
hasn't
come to-
taken a position.
It
on
hasn't fallen onto any committee.
Oh,
It hasn't.
but will it be?
Why haven't they come to us with
Yeah.
a list of proposals and let us review them, specific proposals? Let us review
Yeah, the
them,
10-point plan.
and if we like them, pass a resolution supporting.
Because I keep
And
hearing
those are
about these
questions.
approved plans and I never even heard about them, so I just don't know.
Because there aren't any approved.
The public safety issue.
Okay, and which
I've had
committee?
my hand up.
This is not.
I think Jamie has the floor.
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Well, I don't have the floor, I'm just raising my
Well, you
hand
have the floor.
as the
Now you
chair. Because I believe in waiting for the chairs.
Sorry.
Sorry, I didn't see you.
As others may not. Okay, so my opinion at this moment is, and this is just me, I see 2 separate issues. I see the 10, and Katina, I appreciate your work and I appreciate your time and quite brilliant presentation, but I see them as somewhat separate. I see the 10, and I've been approached actually by a number of people, your neighbors, our neighbors, or your immediate neighbors, about what's happened in that area, public safety wise. And I see the 10-point plan, but I see it as separate, although I could be convinced that it's contiguous with this plan. But here I see a street and public safety, bicycles, cars, pedestrians, buses to MTA, what is concrete, bone, this kind of thing. And here I see shootings, McDonald's, street plaza, car, and they are related, but not necessarily so. So I'd love to have us have another meeting. We can't have a resolution right here and now. We have to notice it.
I'd love to have another meeting to discuss whether they should be handled together as one umbrella plan. I love that idea, but I'm not convinced. And then we could decide whether to take them separately, transportation and related, or take them together as one big wholesome plan.
It's very well said.
Yep.
Thank you.
'Cause I'm not
How
sure
do
which way
we,
to-
how does the committee feel about this, Ken?
Well, I was just gonna suggest, we have, what, I think the most important thing is to get this in front of the agencies, DOT, MTA, most importantly. We have the District Services Cabinet, which Max chairs, I think. I don't know whether Max is still here, but, that would be one venue to get this in front of them and say, the Transportation Committee of CV7 would like to know your thoughts on this and, and we want to move it forward.
I
So
can certainly
that's one
submit
avenue.
the bus ideas to the MTA
What?
forthwith.
Great.
Yeah, and then just one other thought,
You know.
what Rita was talking about low hanging fruit. Some of these neck downs and pinch points and such that you were talking about, is very easily done and could save lives. And we may want to consider next month just drafting a resolution in favor of those things, pending they're looking at the bigger issue.
So I'm hearing that we want to try to notice something for next transportation meeting, where there could be ideally a resolution voted on dealing with your, I mean, I'm okay with that. Is
Yeah.
that something we can do? Okay, and between now and then,
Which is
We
just 2
can-
weeks away.
we can start having these discussions, whether it's district service cabinet, you talking to the MTA. And we can take Jamie's point in mind, which is sort of how we're gonna take things further, whether these are gonna be standalone things, or we're gonna do the umbrella approach.
Yeah.
Because I want to be mindful
Yeah.
of Katina's concerns.
Yeah, of
But
course.
also Rita's concerns.
And I, just to, the thinking about the umbrella group, and we can close out with after you for sure, was just that, again, having the whole idea of the two, public safety issues and the street redesign, they're both fundamentally street redesign issues, right? And it's the same general neighborhood. So my point is that what you do to one probably will have some sort of impact on the other, either way. I mean, they're not gonna just be two separate areas that we're gonna address. You have to sort of think about both, whether or not that means we do them collectively or separately. But I do think it is part of the same
It is.
general influx of traffic and how people move around. So, go ahead, sorry.
And if we're going to notice a resolution, I think it's worthwhile going back to where this started. If the original request is for money and for the agencies to conduct a study of this, which I think is probably required given some of the really basic questions that we were raising, that should be something that we can weigh in on at this point, to simply say, we think this is a study that the agencies should undertake. And by getting them involved, by suggesting at least that we want them to do this work, it may be a different avenue rather than trying to have them come in, appear before the committee, assuming that they've done the study and are in a position to be able to substantively comment on the merits of the proposal. So I think we should ask that they undertake that work too.
Yeah, that's an
Okay,
okay, that's for sure.
Is
Okay,
that
does
a,
that sound like a plan for
is that a
everyone?
resolution? I
It would
said,
be part of it,
Can
yes.
can I make a suggestion? May I? What?
Go ahead.
Jay, yes.
No, the only way to get any action out of DOT, if there is a way, is by being specific. You know, if we or anybody else goes to DOT with this giant master plan and combines safety, which I respectfully disagree, is a separate issue. And the more you pile on.
You disagree that it's a separate
That's
issue?
what she-
I agree, I think it's a separate issue.
Okay.
I agree with Jay.
You know, and the more you pile together, the less responsive DOT
Usually.
is gonna
Right.
be. So my suggestion was that the specific proposals, Katina, get us a list of those proposals.
You can
We have it.
right
They-
here.
I don't have it yet. Okay, take the list that we already have on Jamie's computer. All right? Look at this very specific proposals, evaluate them, see what we think can be done expeditiously. And then do a resolution calling on DOT and exert whatever pressure we can with the help of the community organizations, with the elected officials, and focus on getting certain specific things done as quickly as possible.
So I think,
This giant master plan concept is gonna go in the circular file, and that'll be the end of it.
okay, so I think, point taken. We have just a couple more minutes here to decide what we're gonna do. If I could just propose something. Could we, just a reminder to everyone that our next board meeting for transportation is in 2 weeks, not in a month.
December
So
tenth.
and this week, by and large, is gonna be a holiday week, so it really will be one, to do a resolution, we could either do one now, or we could do one in 2 weeks' time. It's a difference of 2 weeks, not 2 years, 2 months, we're not, so just so that everyone knows that.
There's just one point of.
Yeah.
The 10-point plan that Katina and the Block Association set forth was not only related to public safety. That is why all of those various city agencies and stakeholders were there. It was precipitated by a shooting.
Right.
But then it grew into a much larger conversation about quality of life, street design,
Yes.
traffic flow, all of it. So I just want to say there, it's not, we're kind of all saying the same thing, honestly, about improving the area. It's not just public safety for that. I see Katrina nodding her head.
So does that seem okay for folks that we
Katrina.
put this on the agenda as an item for a resolution in 2 weeks?
Mhm.
2 weeks from Tuesday, that's not too long for you guys. I mean, I know Ken, I know.
And we will
I know-
have
I know
spoken
it-
to some city agencies
By
and the MTA by then.
I can wait 2 weeks.
Does that seem okay? Great.
Can
Okay,
you guys make sure that whatever
yes, we'll
lists,
circulate.
I don't think I ever got this.
And this gives me a chance
I
to
just asked
extol the
Jamie.
virtues.
Jamie's sending it to Max, who's gonna send it to all of us.
Actually, I
The
think we should,
10-point plan.
yes, but if I can just interject here, that's great. I think I learned this past week and spent an hour with Jessie. Jessie, shout out to you if you're listening. Is everyone using Google Drive and getting access to documents for these meetings on Drive? And if not, we can do a little primer next month about how to go into Drive and pull. So that document should get uploaded into the transportation drive for CB7 so that you're not getting gazillions of emails from us, okay?
Is
Agendas,
there a way to send this stuff
proposals.
on just a straight PDF?
There are
Yeah,
PDF,
there
they're PDF in the drive, Jay. So you just need to go into the Google Drive, bookmark it, go into that and
Don't
it'll
you
have
have to have
all
a
the,
Goo- well, I don't want to. Don't you have to have a Google account to get into that?
Or download the Google Drive.
yeah. You'll be able to get it. You have an iPhone, right? Or a phone? Okay,
I even have a computer.
okay. I still use Navigate, so.
So thank you, so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
very much
thanks
for-
so much.
thank you for having me.
Great.
Elizabeth, you have someone from the public with their hand up. His name is Eric Papa.
Oh, okay. Eric, do you want to make a quick comment or?
Yeah,
Sorry.
Absolutely.
That's
I
great.
just promoted him, so he's gonna probably mute for a few seconds and then he'll show up.
Thanks.
You gotta unmute yourself.
Yep, sorry about that. I'm Eric Papa. I've been working with Katina a lot on that 10-point plan that you guys talk about. Just to give you some background, I live on West 71st Street across the street on the north side, right from across the street from McDonald's and from where that shooting happened. I'm a location scout and location manager by profession, so it's kind of my job to observe things. So and just sort of see the natural flow of that area. I've talked with Jami as well for a lengthy conversation. I think you guys have really hit it in these last couple of statements, and I missed the beginning parts of the proposal, but I think this is two separate things. There's the immediate small short-term plan, which you have in front of you of things you can do to improve what is really the epicenter of the problem, You know, it's not the subway entrance, it's not across from Square Pizza, and it's not on 69th Street, it's on 70th and 71st, between 70th and 71st Street. Attack this thing with a couple of these things that literally could have been done 3 weeks ago. Move bikes and things of that nature. And while looking at the bigger idea, which we all know will take years to implement, it's not something that will happen in 3 months, 6 months, a year. You'll, as you guys mentioned about 72nd Street, you're lucky if it happens within 4 years, you know, to get reroute buses, like, it's a great idea. I think it's very positive, but we can't wait to accomplish this grand slam and not just keep slapping singles. You know what I mean? We have to manufacture action. We need to do something about this corridor that stops at the Lincoln Center bid at the south side of 70th Street. And we have to just address those 2 blocks. It might seem intimidating and everything, but when you stand there and you look at it and you see the businesses that make up this area, they are all chains, national and citywide. They can be approached for funding. They can be approached to do, we could establish a bid or not establish a bid, but we can solve this problem on that block with 3 or 4 of those 10 steps. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. I think it's, you know, again, it's a short-term and a long-term thing. That's what we're trying to get at. And we understand that, I understand this and we understand what you're saying. So somebody has their hand raised. Okay, so I think we're in a good place here with how we're gonna proceed as a board. Thank you both, everyone, for coming.
Thank you, Laura, very much.
Thank you.
They're all good stuff. Okay,
Thank
great.
you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rita.
We'll be back. Okay, so MTA updates, as everybody in the universe now knows, January 5th begins congestion pricing. However, there are several still outstanding lawsuits that will likely be heard prior to that date. The lawsuits are just unreal. I made a list of them because they're growing, unfortunately.
How many are there?
There are,
Last time we looked, I think.
there are now 11. There's the obvious UFT of the teachers union, and which the Staten Island Borough President has joined. There is the state of New Jersey, which Bergen County and the city of Fort Lee have now joined. That's Judge Gordon, who has made some noise prior to all of this, which made it sound like he might allow it to proceed, actually. There's New Yorkers Against Congestion Pricing, which is a Lower East Side group, who do not want additional traffic on the FDR Drive. I don't know why that's worse. That's better than having it go through their narrow street neighborhood, but they have filed a lawsuit, and Battery Park City has also filed a lawsuit. In addition, now, Rockland County and the town of Hempstead on Long Island have filed lawsuits.
Maybe be easier if you just told us who hasn't done
It's quite something, and
Andrew, aren't those groups all groups that had filed lawsuits before?
No,
there's a few new ones.
Well, there weren't 11 before, but those first 4 you
Yeah, the
mentioned.
first,
I read about.
yes,
There were actually 8.
They were 8, yeah.
Right, so there's some new ones, but
Yeah,
maybe
there's some new ones.
Can the judge bundle them all together like we do? And
I know. But,
yeah.
also, the person who we now refer to as Gridlock Gottheimer, Josh Gottheimer of New Jersey, is threatening, now that he's a congressman, he is threatening
Because he
to,
wants to run.
He wants to be
I
governor.
know he does, but he's threatening to bring up in Congress, New York not getting federal transit dollars if congestion pricing goes ahead. I don't think he'll get anywhere with that, but he's making noise to that effect. You never know, right? But in the meantime, projects that are set to move forward since the go-ahead are Second Avenue subway. The tunneling will begin from 96th Street up to 125th and Park Avenue, which is great news. CBTC on the A and C line in Brooklyn and CBTC on the 6th Avenue B, D, F, and M line is set to move forward. And that is extremely important because while you have congestion, I mean, you have CBTC on Queens Boulevard East,
Not
Queens
everybody knows
Boulevard
what that
West,
is. You might wanna,
and the Culver line,
wanna
you
tell
don't have it right where they all meet on Sixth Avenue.
not everybody knows what
Yes.
CBTC is.
Yeah,
Do you wanna
You
tell?
might wanna-
Can we be-
for those people-
communications-based train control, which allows trains to
Because
operate more
I
closely
thought it was
together.
something we could be back.
No,
Does
safely.
that reduce the number of motormen that have to be on each train?
No,
Okay.
no, it's still one, train operator and conductor. And the two lines, well, there's 3 lines that now have it since the G line was completed this summer. It is not in operation on the G line yet. They're still doing work on weekends, and if you've ridden the G line on weekends, you see that it's going Court Square to Bedford Nostrand, then Bedford Nostrand to Hoyt Skirmahorn, not Hoyt Skirmahorn to Church Avenue. So they're doing work still on various sections of it. But if on the 2 lines where it's been operating really successfully, the 7 and the L, which are the 2 discrete lines that don't merge with anything else. You know, trains are every 6 minutes, every 5 minutes, almost no breakdowns. I mean, it's just amazing. The 7 and the L are packed, and that's because the frequency and the how closely together they're running and how wonderful they are. And we want to see that on more lines. That it's normal all over Europe's transit systems. We need to get this. So those are some projects that are set to move forward. But in addition, accessible stations, 20 some odd stations were put on hold when the governor paused congestion pricing. 5 or 6 of them are set to immediately resume. And work is immediately starting on the Verrazano Bridge, which badly needs work on both the Brooklyn and Staten Island approaches, where weather and other things, vibrations and everything, have hurt the roadways, and that work is beginning forthwith. So that's all good news. Some more good news is the MTA has, because of the wonderful bailout that our state and our legislature and our governor have done for us, and which thankfully the governor of Pennsylvania just did for SEPTA, who was facing massive fare hikes and massive service cuts starting January 1st. The Governor Shapiro of Pennsylvania bailed them out, much as our governor and our legislator have bailed us out post-COVID. There were still going to be some deficits in 26 and 27. We had a balanced budget through then, or 27 and 28. The MTA has been doing things more efficiently, has been bundling projects to save money, and has been able to reduce their deficit in the out years by $500 million, which is great news for all of those who say all the MTA does is piss away money. They've really gotten more efficient in a lot of areas. Their bidding is great. What's not great is there are not enough car manufacturers anymore. Several of them, you know, Alstom bought Bombardier, and Kawasaki is doing great, but there are no other domestic car manufacturers, and we have, you know, we have to buy domestic. So, you know, they've opened U.S. plants like Kawasaki's in Yonkers, but their main plant is in Lincoln, Nebraska. That's great, but the other company, Alstom, has not done that yet. So we're stuck with one manufacturer. If we don't, and it's really great that the congestion pricing has been unpaused, because we have a large order for all electric buses in, and we were going to be moved to the end of the line because tons of cities in the US and elsewhere are wanting electric buses. And if we didn't get them in this batch now, we would have been moved to the end of the line, and I don't know when we would have gotten them. So that's good news too, that we can get those things. Because of the recent drought, which hopefully might be over shortly, car cleaning has been reduced to every other day from every day. So if you see a few smears on the outside of subway cars or commuter rail cars, that's why we're not allowed to use water as ubiquitously as we have been. And the one big improvement for Staten Island Railway, which was the R211S cars, have already been taken out of service because there are problems with the signal system on that very old railway and these brand new cars. We hope that this will be fixed within 2 months. This is the first new cars that Staten Island has seen since the last cars that are still running, the R44s, are back from when the B&O actually owned the roadbed of the Staten Island Railway. That's how old they are. They're like 60, 70 years old. So it is good that they're getting new cars, and we hope to see more improvements like this soon, very soon. So those are some of the things that we are looking at. The lawsuits are the things. Obviously, we need congestion pricing to be in place before you know who becomes president, who has vowed to do away with it. I am sure. You know, what's really disturbing is that one of his picks, of his many picks,
EPA.
no,
For DOT.
for DOT, for Transportation Commissioner, did this whole speech about the airlines and the highways and the harbors, not one word about rail or rail transit, not one friggin' word, which
I
is,
think
which
the
is really
EPA
troubling.
I think the Zeldin appointment, everyone
Oh,
wondered
yeah,
why the Lee
God
Zeldin
knows.
appointment was happening, and my first thought was New Yorker, EPA, doesn't seem like he's why, and then I was like, congestion pricing, he's gonna be the one to get the credit for trying to sink it and come back here and.
The feds
Who
have
knows?
given us the all go ahead on congestion pricing, even though the price has been lowered and not as many cars will be taken off the street, not as much clean air will be a fixture of this. It is scheduled to start at $9. In 3 years, it will go to 12, and in 3 more years, it will go to 15. London did that too. They brought it in at a lower price and raised it several times. So people get to see the benefit, and then they're not as, and you know, for the town of Hempstead to file a lawsuit when the Long Island Railroad will be a big benefactor of congestion pricing. There are so many improvements planned for the LIRR, including the possible electrification of the Port Jefferson branch now that the MTA has been able to obtain this huge yard in Port Jeff. I mean, that's gonna make you know how many people drive?
That's all diesel now, right?
It is diesel,
Yeah.
East of Huntington. Do you know how many people have just drive to the Ronkonkoma branch because it's all electric? I mean, I know tons of people that do that. Yeah, Howard.
Oh, not to mention the people from there who drive into Manhattan and will be able to not sit in traffic. 2 questions. According to a statistic I read, 41.5% of license plates are unreadable. That's astonishing to me. I drive a lot, and there are all sorts of ruses. One is an empty bike rack. I've noticed this enormous proliferation of empty bike racks, especially the kind of bike racks that have this big metal bar in front of the license plate.
Yeah.
I was looking at a license plate walking down the street, and it looked a little odd, and I got close, and I had to touch it to realize it was a fake license plate. 41.5% are unreadable. I can only imagine this is going to start soaring once congestion pricing is going in. What's being done about it?
Many cars have been seized on various crackdowns on ghost plates on the Verrazano
I see
Bridge.
them all
over the place. And the readers that people don't think are doing anything right now at 60th Street, they are reading plates and seeing which are ghost plates and which are not, and which
And then-
don't match the
Okay, so I asked
the Easy Pass
a
tags.
meter maid, what happens when they want to give a parking ticket to a plate that's not a legitimate plate? Do you know what they told me?
What?
They do nothing and just go on to the next car. So it's a total exemption from all ticketing, from all
It's
fines.
really getting cracked down on, and supposedly the fine goes up after each, you know,
Well, she said they do nothing.
and then after 5, or is it 4,
I'll take her at
your
her word.
registration gets withdrawn, so you lose your vehicle.
I know that the police and the state police have done multiple, what I call them stings or raids. We actually had a pursuit here on the Upper West Side, because they were pulling over ghost cars and, ghost plates, and one of them fled. And, I actually observed this on 73rd in Amsterdam, interestingly. When I spoke to the police department, they said they were pursuing a ghost, plate. And when it became a high-speed pursuit, they stopped to not kill anyone, but apparently.
And I believe, Doug, that if you go through a reader and it reads your Easy Pass tag and your plate, and they don't match, then you get a fine, or that's one violation right there. So they know who's beating it. And Amazon has been ordered to stop selling these shields that come down over a plate, because Amazon was selling them. They were big sellers.
Didn't Senator Hoylman have another bill that was trying to increase the fines?
Yes.
I don't know where that is,
I will ask him.
but they're trying to make it, they were actually trying to be able to.
But the readers that are up now are reading plates.
That's good.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, okay.
Andrew, everything I read would be reinstated. Congestion, I just mentioned the reduction in the fee from $15 to $9. Didn't say anything about these potential increases.
No, they're in
over
it.
3 years.
They're in it.
Are
After
they
3
in the
years,
Plan,
they're in the plan,
so it's a delay.
and it's two and a
It's not
quarter.
an,
$2.25 after 9 p.m. You know that.
okay.
Yeah.
But it's not an elimination.
Cheaper than the
of
subway.
$15. The $15,
Yeah, I think
it's a delay
It's a
in
long
the
delay.
implementation.
Yes, it's a 6-year delay.
So all the publicity from the MTA when they were lobbying for congestion pricing, and they said they had to have $15.
Well,
That was the minimum. Now
I'll
they're,
tell you why.
now they're okay with not.
They're not okay, and there are still some projects that cannot be done because the $15 fee was going to allow them to raise 1 billion per year, which would allow them to bond 15 billion per year towards the $55 billion capital program. They cannot reach that program in time, but because the governor and the state of New York have committed to the next capital program, which is $68 billion, they will be able to take some things from that program and do them earlier in the existing program. So it won't make up for it, but all is not lost. Let's put it that way.
The publicity, at least 2 articles that I read said that the new fee schedule could produce 15 billion.
Nobody thinks that, really.
I just had a
Sofia,
question,
I'm
sorry, yeah.
I believe nobody thinks.
Sophia has a question.
That doesn't prevent somebody from saying.
No, it doesn't.
Sorry, maybe I still don't understand, but if the readers don't have the license plates or the easy passes, then how can they issue out
They'll have the easy pass and they'll know what the plate should be. And if it's not that plate
So
or
it's
it's
one or the
unreadable,
other.
that
Okay.
will send off a signal.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, but they're hiding their easy pass because they don't want to pay and they're also
If they're
obstructing
hiding their
plate.
easy pass, then an alarm goes off and somebody stops them, I think,
Mm.
hopefully.
But that only. There's nothing, there's no law that says you have to have an easy pass. Right. You don't have to have an easy.
No, but you have to have something that they know who to toll.
Yeah, and that would be a plate.
Yeah, but 41.9% don't have that.
If the plate's
Andrew, you're
obstructed,
already talking about somebody that's obscuring their license plate to prevent the fee. What's to prevent them from, if they have an easy pass, you just pull it off.
I think
And
if
then
if
when
they had
you're out of there,
nothing,
you stick it back.
I
on.
think they take a picture of the vehicle.
And keep in mind that it's not just about losing billions of dollars. When some of the risk is that there are crimes associated with people that have obstructed plates and God forbid there is a crash or fatality and you can't find them.
Yep.
Right, and that's a.
Oh, I will tell you, there's a strong correlation between reckless driving and people without license plates. An
Absolutely.
incredibly strong correlation.
Oh, yeah, not
And
surprised to
bank
hear that.
robbery. No, I don't know.
So, to round out the price questions, can you give us your odds on what the chances are that you think it's January 5th, we see it actually happening? on
I think it's
January
pretty good.
5th? Like what odds? We're not holding you to it. It's like-
Yeah, we're holding it to
As the-
you. We are.
It'll be good Thanksgiving dinner.
I only
To
have
to the second decimal
$10,000.
place, by
Yes.
the way.
It's okay if you don't want to respond.
I mean, I would say 65%. I would say it will start then. Don't ask me after January 20th, though.
Okay, got it. I have one other unrelated,
This
is
would be
there, I
also
mean, on
Hillary.
congestion, is there anything else? I just had another quick entry question.
Sure.
Locally, 66th Street elevators, when are those gonna be done? You know,
I don't know, but I can find out.
Okay. A lot of people. are
And as everybody has now seen, the 2 stations that can have accessibility on the Central Park West B and C line are 81st and 96th, and those projects are ongoing. They were in an earlier group of stations, so they weren't frozen when congestion pricing was frozen. So those are going forward, and that's great news. Andy Byford, when he was here, frequently said when all of our stations that we plan to make accessible are made, you will never be more than 2 stations from an accessible station. That leads one to believe that 110 and the CPW will also be, and that should not be a problem, that station. It's a wide sidewalk and Central Park West is wide there. And 59th we know already is, so 59th, 72nd, 81st. So far, at least on that line, that at no more than 2 stations away will be so. There are a lot of other stations under construction right now, tons of them. And a new member of our Transit Riders Council happens to be the district manager of Community Board 11 in Crown Heights, and he was asking me if a major important station, Franklin Avenue, Medgar Evers College, which is also a transfer to the Franklin Shuttle line, the S line, is in the books. And I checked, and it is not scheduled to be made accessible. So I am trying to get that included. That's a very important station, and that should be on the list of accessible stations. So it sounds like the legislature is very supportive of the MTA being the economic engine of the city, which is the economic engine of the state, which is the economic engine of the whole country, basically. So you can't let this stuff slide. And I'm glad Pennsylvania just realized it, because Philly has tons of regional rail and trolleys and buses and subways, and for them to threaten massive fare hikes and massive service cuts in the new year would just be a disaster. And they finally realized it there too. Yeah, Howard.
At the risk of raising all the difficult questions, fare evasion, I read that the estimate of the amount lost to fare evasion exceeds what will be collected through congestion pricing. Have you read that?
800.
No, it's in the area.
With the $9 congestion pricing, it's like
Oh, with the
$800.
$9 congestion.
Yeah, well, whatever it is, it's a lot of money.
Well, you should know
Undeniably,
that
yes.
the new fare gates are on order, and I went to Philly to test them out, and the booth agent there told me that fare evasion has been reduced by at least 85%. I watched these turnstiles for an hour. Nobody tried to beat them. If you are really, really athletic, you can crawl under them, but you can't go over them and you can't go through them. And they close immediately. And we tested these when the blue ribbon panel on fare evasion.
And no one gets chopped in half.
No. So they're coming, but they're not coming soon enough. That's for sure.
I agree.
What about for buses?
Nice.
They're testing a various bunch of things on buses. When Omni is everywhere, which it will be next year, and MetroCard is done away with, they will be all door boarding on buses. And there will be something that will have to register whether you've paid or not, or an alarm will go off or something. You know what, if you don't tap, an electric eye will read that you came in, and then you didn't tap, an alarm will go off. Something has to happen. Bus fare evasion is much higher than subway fare evasion.
You're still gonna have a card.
You are.
Yeah,
You can have a card or your phone or whatever,
Or both.
or use a credit or debit card. Anything works if it's got the tap symbol.
Sofia?
I was just curious, why was there a decision, like when thinking about fare evasion, the barrier gate, rather than like what London has where you have to tap out? So you're kind of stuck inside. Yeah.
Boston has tap out too.
Yeah. What was the
It
thought?
adds to
Congestion.
it does.
Okay.
It sort of doesn't let people move as quickly as they could.
Okay.
Also adds to claustrophobia.
No, I don't know about that, but,
I think we have so many.
no, I think it's not gonna work. But I'm happy to take any other questions.
Any other?
So far, it's looking okay. Let's put it that way.
Anyone from the public have a question for Andrew about the MTA?
Anything else you wanted to?
I wanted to, my name's Tara Lanning and I live on 73rd in Amsterdam, and I work up at Columbia for their Center for Smart Streetscapes. I was at a research on the road that Calvingown put on recently, and it sounds like NYPD has this interagency ghost plate operation that has been very successful, or will be successful, just as a note from the previous
Well,
comment.
I know the MTA and the Port Authority have ghost plate investigators, and they've been doing massive raids at either the GW or the Battery Tunnel or the Tri-Road Bridge or the Verrazano Bridge. So I know those two agencies which run the toll booths, the toll bridges and tunnels have that. I wasn't aware NYPD had it.
Yeah, it's, Deputy
run the program?
Yeah. Okay, I'll look into that. Thank you. Anyone have any other business?
I just, those white flexible bollards are an eyesore, they're unsafe.
They are.
I think maybe we should could we put it on the agenda for next?
Yes, and in fact, somebody complained to me about the ones that are bent and are
Flat.
and are obscuring the passenger of walking at Second Avenue and 79th Street. They're right over the pedestrian.
Oh, and if you're on a bicycle, that could be the end of you if you don't see it and go
If you
over
don't
it.
see it, yeah.
Which bollards are we talking about?
They're
The white bollards.
vertical now,
They're-
but
well,
they're often not vertical.
I'd say
Oh,
1
I
out
know
of
what you're
10
saying.
are not vertical. They break and go
Oh,
down,
yeah,
and they're
yeah.
always dirty, they're unsightly. And if you're on a bike and
Right
you
by-
don't see it,
Right by where you're.
What's the
buildings, which are
alternative?
21.
I don't know. I'm not, again, I'm not on the city's
Yeah.
payroll. Someone on the city must know I've never seen them in any other city. I
I
was
haven't
recently
either.
in Paris of all places. They have these metal things that don't move. Fix it.
Are you okay with that being on in January or? do you want-
Okay, whatever. Yeah,
It's the DOT thing, not an
Okay.
MTA thing, right?
No, it's DOT.
Oh, it's
absolutely
DOT,
DOT.
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
DOT.
Either
Why,
December or
why,
January. Well, because we're doing Alex's and we're gonna do a resolution on, which I think will take up a fair
Well,
amount.
this won't take very long.
yeah, this is not gonna take very long. Okay.
So we'll see everyone
Okay.
in 2 weeks. Have a great
Have a great
Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah,
Thanks,
yeah.
guys.
Thanksgiving.
The paper version of the.
I think we'll leave that in the office for them.
Okay.
And